Tonight what I'm going to do is take this new Spyderco S110V. It's a native 5 and S110V. It's a lightweight. Just got it. And from the factory, the bevels were uneven, dramatically so. 14 on one side and 17.5 on the other. I've been shooting for 14 degrees per side on these, quote, super steels, these high vanadium steels, because I figure Spyderco aims for 15, or an average thereabouts. I can go, since I can sharpen them easily, I can go down to 14. If you hear that hollow sound there, that's where the bolster on the knife is hitting the inside of the wheel. And I have to put just, that right thumb of mine is not putting any pressure, it's just holding the knife to the wheel, because on this diamond wheel from Tormek, I think it's 250 grit, there's a tendency to bounce if I don't hold it down. So I sometimes put this one finger here to just against the wheel, so I steady my pushing it up to the bolster there and don't do more damage than is necessary. If this were a real clutch knife or plumb one, you know, $300 knife, this can cost me $150. So I'm going to do less of a pass on the steep side and do more on the shallow side. Do two for one passes, because I got more material to remove on the shallow side, you know. Hear that hollow sound? That's the bolster just very lightly touching the side of the wheel, because I want to be sure to get it all the way up to the heel, because the heel of the knife tends to get a little neglected since you're starting right at the edge of the wheel. And so I try to give it a little extra focus there. And again, I'm making 2 passes, or even 3, on the shallow side, so that I'm taking more off of that side than the steep side. I know the angle from the knife grinder is apt for setting angles, which I still use despite its being obsolete, just because I'm accustomed to it. So now let's see if we can get a good reflection here, which sometimes I can in this thing and sometimes I can't. See, I can't get a really good one because the jig is in the way and I don't want to remove the jig, but we'll turn it on and see if I can get some semblance. What I do is make sure that I can see the laser about the same on either side of the blade. If it's splitting the laser in the center, and there's an adjustment here to set that up. And it looks like now I've hit approximately the target angle of 14 degrees per side, and it's centered now finally. At least I think it almost is. Let's see here. Set up the center. We're very close, but I'm gonna make a couple of passes, a couple additional passes just to make sure, because it's always bad to skimp on the beginning, at the beginning stages, because then if you do more, then you regret it. And I've heard at least one YouTuber out there claim that because the way that Spyderco sharpens them on sanding belts, I think it's belts of some sort. I don't know what material it is. It's probably silica oxide or something. And I'm doing 2 passes on this side because it was the shallow side. I've heard that they might heat up the steel in their sharpening procedure and kind of ruin the temper of it. This S110V ought to be in the low 60s on the Rockwell. And so it might be good to remove a little extra material anyway to get down to the steel with the proper tempering if that guy is right. In any case, on the first pass, when I have the angles set perfectly on the with the app and the distance from the wheel, which in this case was 166, I think it was 166.37 millimeters height from the base of the Tormek up to here. The distance from the top of this jig to the 250 millimeter wheel is 140 millimeters. The width of the blade behind the bevel is about 0.5 millimeters. And then it prescribes the distance to 166 or 7, whatever it is, 166.37. And just to be clear, I measure that with the caliper. I lock it in place and measure from here to here. And that's how I get the exact angle, the exact target angle. Of course, we're raising a real good burr each time with the coarse diamond wheel. I think we're close enough that I'm gonna stop removing material here, and I'll pause the video and I'll use the medium grit wheel and catch back up with you when I'm at the fine grit after I confirm with the laser goniometer again that I've got approximately an even bevel at 14 degrees per side. So now I'm at the fine wheel. Here the bolster just barely hit it. With the fine wheel, this is pass number 5. I've already gone through medium. I try to do at least 8 passes. They're a little bit faster because we're not removing material now. We're just trying to get the scratches from the diamonds in the from the coarser grits removed. So that's 6. So I'll go towards the bolster with my finger there. I put it up against the wheel so that I don't jam the bolster into the wheel too much. 7. 8. This will be number 8. Focus a little bit extra on the heel, otherwise, since it's the edge of the wheel, it'll get underdone. So now we have, this is about 1250, the extra fine Tormek wheel. We've got, let's see if you get in the light there, if we can get the light right. That's about 14 degrees on each side. Oh, there you go, you can see it there a little bit better. Focus. And there's a little bit of a burr there, of course, you might expect. Now I'm gonna come over here to the T7, and on the T7 I have a bunch of leather wheels set up with different micron diamonds that I'll now use. Lower the water on the T8 so that it can drain off the wheel a little bit. Now we have a front vertical base here, and the last one is on here is 0.25 micron diamonds. But we're going to start with a 6. Here's a 6 micron. And I only use this on one knife. I think it's got enough grit in it, but I always say I don't want to skimp on cheap materials, so in a peanut butter jar here to keep them from drying out, because it's very arid here out in Utah, I'll find a 6 micron diamond paste and apply just a little extra just to make sure that you don't want to goop it up with too much stuff on there, but you don't want to run it across the grit stage, as it were, and like not do nothing and progress to the next stage. So I'll put a little bit more diamond paste from Amazon. As I said, it's very cheap. Now, that might mean it's of poor quality, but until it doesn't work good, I'm going to do it and then use it since it's cheap. And I kind of let the oil drip down my finger. Can't really see here, but I let it drip down my finger and I try to apply it evenly. I think it's important to have enough oil on there for lubrication with cutting, as you know, is always good. And I think it helps the diamonds adhere better to the leather wheel. Now, in order to know what my distance has to be, for a 6 micron, I'm going to go to a different app, Tormek T7. The wheel is 250 millimeters because it's new. I got 140 millimeters, the distance for the jig. I'm shooting for 14 degrees, 0.5, and it says go up 73.64. That's why I got my readers on. 71, 2, 3.64. Yes, we are dealing with fractions of a millimeter, believe it or not, here. I tend to be meticulous about it just because what's an extra second here and there, you know? Get everything perfect or as close to it as reasonable so you don't second guess yourself if, you know, it doesn't wind up as sharp as you expected. I'm expecting to get well below 50 from this procedure here. So I lock down the wheel. Now I'm going to make 3 light passes per side here at 6 micron diamonds. And I'm going to pause the video because you don't need to see it all, but I'm going to progress from 6 to 3. With 3 passes per side. And then I'm going to change the angle, and you'll see in a second. I've gone through 3 micron, and now I'm going to do something what you might think would be heretical. I'm going to lower the grinding angle to 13.9, which is less than the target angle. And that is to remove material from all but the apex where it's already thinner. At least I think I infer that. So instead of 70.70, whatever it was, 0.64, we're going to go to 73.43. So I'll go 71, 2, 3.43. So a tiny fraction of a millimeter. And I do this because this is what Vadim told me to do in his knife deburring book. He has the advantage of lots of research and testing and international collaborations around the world. He does 2 passes. I'm going to do 3 per side. Put a little oil on this. This is 1 micron at below the target grinding angle to focus on the thicker part where the carbides might still be jutting out. Like I said, at least I infer that that is the point of this procedure, which remarkably has worked. And I don't mess with what works, especially when a guy like Vadim, the now deceased knife grinders guy, has bothered to go through all of that testing and publish it for me. Okay, so that's 6 passes now with below the target grinding angle at 1 micron. Now we're going to go back and focus on the very apex. We're going to go back to the target angle at 0.5 micron diamonds, and this is one that's only been used once. It's a new wheel I have, so I got 0.5 micron. So we're definitely going to put a little more material on there. So like I said, I don't skimp on materials. My time is more valuable than a $8 or $10 stick of diamond paste. Don't know what the tariffs are going to do to that. They're going to make it more expensive. Everything that's being threatened comes to fruition. Little oil to help it bond. It's a little thick on there in places, so it's going to gunk up on the blade a little bit, but we'll take care of that. Now we'll do 3 passes per side. Oh, got to go back to the 0.64. Which is up just, I can tell you that for 0.1 it's going to be up like one number on this little gizmo, actually 2 numbers. So it went from 3 to 1. So it's measurable. And I'll do 3 passes per side on this and catch up with you again in a moment. Doing final 2 passes at the exact deburring angle on a leather wheel that is freshly impregnated with 0.25 micron diamonds and some oil. Okay. We're about 15 minutes into this now. I'm sorry about the glare, but we now have a, well, the light's pretty poor in here right now at this time of day. But there's a very nice, perfect 14-degree bevel on both sides. Now we'll come over here again. Not again, the first time, to a different station here that I have set up, where I will test on the best scale and see where we are. I like to at least see where we've gotten before I do any stropping. I got my notes here. I always make notes of what I've done in the past so that in the future I can try to duplicate it. And I use this best scale for push cutting just as a standard metric so that I know that what my results are each time when they compare to the previous time. Supposedly standardized. Now we can cheat. It's not really cheating. We can get you can see if it push cuts a cash register receipt sideways, it is going to be less than 50. That is going to be exquisitely sharp. Okay, and we maybe should just stop there without any hand stropping. I've got different fat leather strops here pinned between some dowel rods on my bench, the same length, so that I can do some hand stropping if it even proves to be necessary. Let me see and feel if I feel like a little micro burr. I'm guessing there is one just at this stage, but we'll check it and see. I'm going to leave the jig on in case I have to go back and repeat a stage, which based on initial results I doubt it, but we're going to go and see anyway. I lower very slowly. 71. So we're at 71. I think we can do a lot better than that with a little hand stropping. Now, hand stropping is almost of necessity going to be less perfect than the less precise than the previous method. I don't know if I have any compound on here from the last stropping session. So we're gonna go, this is 0.5 on this side. So I'll of course do my usual procedure of reapplying a little bit of compound here. So I don't want to strop and have there be no effect because the compound was used up from previous sessions. Smear it in good. And this, I got this in Amish country. I'm from, my folks still live in Northeast Ohio, not far from Amish country, and they had some scrap leather. I was going to go to the harness maker, but I went and just got some scrap leather and cut it. Of course, I cut it with a Spyderco, right? So now I'm just going to tilt it up to the bevel and maybe a little bit more and do a couple of passes per side. It may be what you normally might think might make a micro bevel, but this steel is too hard. And this grit too fine to remove enough material to make a micro bevel. And then I'll flip it over on the other side conveniently. I've got should have put some oil on the other side too, but conveniently I've got 0.25 on the other side of this bad boy. Seem to overdo it with the oil sometimes. Shouldn't probably have slippery hands when you're dealing with an instrument this sharp. Probably just removing imperfect metal pushed to the very apex is my guess here. Probably a little bit of a burr. Isn't that what we're always combating, is little micro burrs that we make? Now just some really light, uncontrolled, slightly above edge angle, but I mean, not perfectly controlled, but slightly above edge angle passes. Got this hard strop here, which is starting to, well, I mean, this is a hard strop too, right? It's on a table, but it's a bit thicker of a leather and it's got a little bit more give to it. I've seen some guys use some real light passes. I think that might just give you a wire edge or a foil edge. So I try not to be too ginger with it. If you're that ginger with it, if you have to, you know, like if that's the edge, if it's that delicate, how's it gonna stand up to EDC use, right? Okay, that feels good, but you know, feel isn't everything. Tell that to my wife. So here's a cash register receipt, and I mean, it is just unbelievable, like smooth as can be, like no pressure on that. Here's the tip, even the tip just goes right through push cutting. So I got a good feeling about this, that we're probably about done, but you know, the best tester is the final adjudicator of these matters. I've tested this material about how much tension you put on it, and I think it might be a little bit affected by heat or cold, but it's a little bit. The main thing I see is that if you go too fast, you miss it, because the refresh rate of the scale is such that it can't keep up with if you push it through fast. So I try to clean some material off before the final test. I think we might have better light here. I'll flip on some additional lights. I don't know if they'll help or hurt, but so here we've got a very nice, fine, I mean, I wouldn't call it, it's definitely not mirror. I can still see scratches in it. It's not like I had it on the Japanese wheel If I spent a lot more time on the finer grits, I could get that, but I just don't, that's not what I'm after. I'm after for a perfect apex. And right now I'm testing to see if I can feel even the slightest bit of a burr, which I don't think that I can. I've sliced many shirts doing that. So we'll now test it on the best. I often like to have something to support my other hand, but we'll try it kind of like this. We're at 0 now. Of course, I'm right back there by the heel. I'm about 1/2 inch or 3/4 from the heel. Here it's starting to register 4, 6. It ain't gonna be over 20, so I can go up to 20, 24 pretty quickly. 30, 36. We're probably still have a burr we're dealing with because we haven't made any improvements since last time. $65. So we haven't made much improvement on the hand stropping, probably because in general that means I've been too ginger with it. So I'll pause the video. No, I'll just keep it going. We'll do a little bit more, perhaps slightly more aggressive hand stropping here, because I know that this edge, the way that it's cutting through the cash register seat, is capable of a better reading than that. Just got to get rid of that final micro burr, that micro, of course, meaning too small for me to feel. That's 0.5 micron. You go up to 0.25 micron. You can feel a little friction there when I tilt it up just to the apex, so I think there probably was just a little bit of a burr there. Might need more compound on this side. Maybe I was mistaken. I have a different side. I can flip it over and try that. Scotia oil. You could use, I have some strops hanging here with the same compound. Just I have some soft straps or some hanging straps. Redeem, of course, used. Now I got a chromium oxide, 50,000. I can be a little bit more aggressive on this because it's not going to touch the carbides. It's not abrasive enough. Get a little more aggressive here on. I still might be feeling just ever a little bit of a burr on that one side. You just did a paper cut test, see, you'd have stopped. I find that I can't stop, I just keep going. So it's a good thing I have an objective measure like this, although a very challenging one. Give my hand a support here, just mineral oil. That's wobbling too much. I can see that bevel shining there. About the same spot as before, about 3/4 inch from the edge. $54. Normally I'd stop, but I think we just need some more. We gotta kind of be a little bit more aggressive here. We're making progress, it's just slow. So I probably haven't been aggressive enough on my stropping to get rid of the final little bit of burr, whatever is there. And I'll just kind of randomly, this side doesn't have much compound in it, it's 0.5. And I'm gonna go ahead and do something that's, they say is silly. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little soft stropping, or a little hanging strop, just to see if like maybe getting up off that angle a little bit more, as inevitably I will, might help me remove that last little bit of burr. To some degree this is just kind of like ritualistic and voodoo. Just keep moving from strop to strop until you've done it enough that you get the result that you're looking for. Now sometimes you go back to the paper and you find you made things worse. Try how smooth that is. I certainly haven't made things worse, which is good, right? If you start making things worse, then you know you've gone the wrong direction. You're rounding the apex is probably what you're doing. And you know, the thing is too, we're up against the limits. We got I think 54 last time. We're at the point where you almost can't really make this better, and if you do, it's not going to be a stable situation. I think to some degree the solvents to remove the residues and the abrasives is probably also, might be a little voodoo-ish too. Same spot again. $71. So we might be up against the limits of what we can do. I'm going to pause the video and see if I can screw around a little stropping more and see if I can get better. So I went through another procedure. Just didn't do anything special. I was paused for a minute or so. I just didn't want to, I don't know if I run out of things to say or start repeating myself, so I don't want to bore the very few watchers of this video with you know, me just repeating myself. Let's see what we got now. $47. You always want to, so we're below 50, which is kind of my goal. About a half an hour, starting with S110V. Well, we're probably 35 minutes into it now. Yeah, maybe 40. But for starting with rebeveling and everything, or whatever you want to call it, oops. $69. I'd say we're probably done. I mean, I could mess around a little bit more, but I got to be realistic here. Like, we're all converging around 50, and if you allow me to do it too long, I'll just get a lucky score in there somewhere. I actually thought I was going to be able to get this you know, into the 30s or 40s, which sometimes I can, but you know, frankly, they sometimes tend to be fleeting results. You know, like you get one and you stop, you know, ha ha ha, and then I go get my wife or somebody, and I'm very impressed with myself, and oh wait, it's like 60 again, just like we have 47 and 69. And that's probably within the variability of the scale, you know. You're at a different section of the blade each time, right? So whether or not you got a little micro burr here but not there, you got a little piece of vanadium sticking out here but not there, or you get a piece of filament that's not perfect, or you press down in a different way, or you get lucky. There's a lot of things that can go into this. For the record, I stuck a little piece of leather there. See this piece of leather at the bottom? So if my blade ever goes through, it doesn't hit the metal at the bottom of this thing. One last one. I mean, I know you saw me cheat stropping there a little bit extra. .56, so we're converging around 50, which is a pretty good result for S110V. I said I think I might have a little micro burr there that'll get stropped off as I start cutting with the knife. That might be worth a little demo there. If I were to, at some point I'll sharpen one of these and get it to 50 like this, and then run it through cardboard a bunch of times and retest it. And it'll go up inevitably towards 100, because cardboard's somewhat abrasive and tough to cut. Like I said, some of this is like just religiosity, you know, just keep doing things, keep repeating, you're bound to get a better result eventually. You just want it to be consistent. And what I'm doing right now, I really don't have a procedure, you know. I'm just stuck around 50, and this is kind of my life. And just keep doing it over and over until you get a result that you want. And you know, sometimes even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and again. And maybe just more stropping removes the micro burr. I don't know. I really feel like the way that this is cutting through this cash register receipt sideways. Ooh, going towards my finger. I mean, that is like butter. I mean, I can not even put any pressure on the knife and it just goes right through. So I'm really surprised I'm not in the 30s or 40s, but I also know that if I get into the 30s or 40s, very often that result is not stable. And even if I can repeat it 5 times, I leave the knife overnight, and it's well recognized that when you do that, you get oxidation of this bare metal that you've made, and it's not as sharp as it was. There's 40. So, you know, we're converging at what I consider to be just about the best of what you can do. And I think that is a really good and satisfactory result for this steel and the amount of time that I've spent, including reprofiling. So we're just gonna leave it there. And there you have it. Here's the work area. Lots of strops and compounds and oil and Tormek equipment. The T8. Bunch of leather wheels, diamond wheels, SG wheel, SJ wheel under there, and the trusty old T7, which I've had for, oh, not quite 15 years now. Hopefully this helps some people that are trying to sharpen super steels with the Tormek system. It's definitely a way to get a very good, consistent, perfect result. Might not be the sharpest, won't whittle hair, but I can tell you that that edge is about as perfect as you can get, because I've controlled the angle at each step of the process. It's just about the apex and whether or not there's a little micro burr there still. And I have to decide when I've been at it enough to call it quits, because I'll just waste time or make things worse. So there you have it, S110V sharpened and reprofiled on the Tormek. Happy sharpening, stay sharp, but don't cut yourself.